I have a bunch of important updates about Washington, D.C. travel and tourism. Hello, my name is Rob. I'm a tour guide and the founder of Trip Hacks DC Tours. On this channel, I share my best tips, tricks, and hacks for exploring Washington, D.C. And over at triphacksdc.com, you'll find info about tours and more. As we enter 2021, the Washington, D.C. tourism is still hurting from the coronavirus. But there is finally light at the end of the tunnel, as 3 million Americans have already received a dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. That said, that number is still a small fraction of the 328 million people living in the US. So there is still a long way to go. In the meantime, I'm going to run through some updates and give you a sense of what's going on right now in January 2021. And at the end of the video, I will give my opinion about whether it's worth trying to travel right now or if you should wait. Since this is definitely not going to be the last of these update videos, what I need you to do is make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future updates. With that said, let's get started. COVID cases are about as high as they have ever been, which means that there are some important travel rules and restrictions. Until further notice, Washington, D.C. has a COVID testing requirement for everyone who visits the city. The basic gist of it is, within 72 hours of your departure, you should get a COVID test at your home. If you test positive, you cannot travel. If you've been in contact with someone who's tested positive, you cannot travel. If you test negative, have not been in contact with any positive cases, and plan to be here for 3 days or less, then you're all set. If you plan to be here for more than 3 days, then between day 3 and 5 after you arrive, you need to get another COVID test, which you can do at any of the free testing sites here. If you have questions about this, I highly recommend spending some time on the website coronavirus.dc.gov, which has much more detailed information than I do. The other thing to remember is that Washington, D.C. has a universal mask mandate. So anytime you're outside your home or outside your hotel room, your face has to be covered. Let's go on to one of the biggest changes since my last update video, restaurant dining. Starting on Christmas Eve, Washington, D.C. instituted a 3-week pause on indoor dining. So through at least January 14th, you will not be able to eat inside of a restaurant. You can eat outside if the restaurant is offering outdoor dining, or you can order takeout if the restaurant is keeping their kitchen open. Delivery is also an option, but I personally recommend trying to order direct whenever you can, as those delivery apps keep a huge percentage of the order for themselves. Next, let's cover the popular tourist sites. At the moment, almost all tourist sites are closed. This includes all Smithsonian museums, the National Zoo, National Gallery of Art, all private museums, U.S. Botanic Gardens, Library of Congress, Capitol Building, and National Archives. The Washington Monument was actually one of the last holdouts, but did have to close down after the Secretary of the Interior tested positive for COVID, after he gave several nighttime private tours to political appointees. So even if the Washington Monument is still operating, I personally would not want to get in that elevator right now. The rest of the outdoor monuments on the National Mall are open, which makes a monuments tour one of the few things that you can actually do right now. Inauguration is only 2.5 weeks away. It's happening on January 20th, but it is going to be significantly scaled back. I won't spend much time on it because I already made a comprehensive video about inauguration details. So check out the video description for the link if you haven't already seen it. Okay, so now for my take on the current situation. Historically, January and February are by far the slowest months of the year for travel and tourism. In my month-by-month roundup videos that I made last year, I said that this makes them a great time to visit and avoid the crowds. However, with the museums and a lot of the other sites closed, there really aren't that many sites to even see. So I don't think it's worth traveling in January or February if you can delay your trip until later in the year. If we can keep COVID cases from growing and continue getting people vaccinated as quickly as possible, I think there's hope that DC can look more like 2019 than 2020. And trying to force a trip during the next 2 months just doesn't seem worth it. But hey, what do you think? And if you made it this far, then I highly recommend another Trip Hacks DC video. So go ahead and click or tap right over here to watch the next one. And if you think you'll eventually come to Washington, DC and interested in signing up for a Trip Hacks DC guided tour, you can click or tap on the Capitol Dome on the left side of my head. That'll send you right over to triphacksdc.com where you can see all of the tours that we offer. Enjoy your trip!